Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to Bonnet Babble. I'm Katie.
And I'm Evie.
And for this episode, we figured out this is probably going to be episode 20. Just about. We totally forgot to mention it in the last one, what episode it probably was.
Yeah. So it says it at the top, so it's fine.
It will, yeah. Yeah, it'll be fine. We just like to speculate, beforehand. Keep everyone on their toes. Now, this post there's a couple of them that I've written that I really struggled with. And this post is one of them. So it's probably not going to be as giggle-packed as the rest. I may even not be able to do a highlights reel off of it. It depends how many things we stumble over.
Yeah.
Or any side tangents, good side tangents that our brains throw in for good measure.
The topics are not fun.
No, they're not. So this is Mother Dearest Part 4, the upsetting stuff. So, the clue's in the name. Yeah. Welcome back to the madhouse. So what I'm trying to get to with this post was going over 3 of the more complex and traumatic memories, the major memories that I have, which really impacted my relationship with Mother Dearest. And the thing is with her is it's really hard to pinpoint why I've ended up having difficulties with complex PTSD. And you can't pin it on any specific event or events.
It's accumulation.
Yeah, because it was years and years of strange, manipulative and narcissistic behaviour, which has, all got bundled up in this big tangled thing of string that's in my mental cupboard.
Yes.
And whenever I try and detangle it, I just pull on a little bit and the whole thing comes out and hits me in the face. And I've got no idea, I don't know. So you ever seen that meme or something, GIF, whatever it's called, on Bookface or whatever it is, where you've got like one of those dressers with glass doors on it, where they keep like all the posh plates and mugs, and they've all fallen off the shelves, and it's all stacked against the door. And then it's like your therapist says, just open the door. And you're like, yeah, no, that's not a good idea. That's what it's like with my stuff. Okay. So you're going to open it and everything's just going to come smashing out and break all over the floor.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's a good one, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the first incident that I want to talk about is the Super Soaker incident. So this
sounds fun. But
yeah, I'm just going to press my little embarrassed. Yes, I'm very embarrassed about this, even now. So as I've touched on previously, I was the poster girl for bullying at school. Ginger, glasses, sticky out ears, buck teeth, just paint a bullseye on me and call it a day. But even better, when I was 7, Mother Dearest decided she would treat me to a bowl haircut, which further drew attention to my extremely protruding ears stuck to the side of my head.
I just wanted to say, thank you, Mum, for not doing this to me.
Seriously, she just...
My mum always got compliments of how well I looked.
Oh no, she tried to cut my fringe once as well, and it ended up getting shorter and shorter and shorter because she kept cutting it skew width.
Oh, my nan was a hairdresser. We went to her.
You see, this is what I needed, but no, she had to do everything herself, didn't she? So I was at a new primary school at this age, and the taunts had already started. Things like Dyke and asking if I was a boy, and Ginger, Ginge, and mildly intelligent twists on my surname and so on. I can't tell you that because you can't know my surname, but they were trying to be clever. It's not really clever. Anyway, so there was one particular girl who took an instant dislike to me for whatever reason. She was called Shelley, I remember that much. And she was the queen bee of her chavvy little group. And they made tormenting me into some kind of sport. The aim of which seemed to be to devise ever more inventive ways to ruin my day. They were delightful. They really were. And, the thing is, calling me Dyke and things like that, what do they think that's going to achieve?
Hopefully to make you run off and cry.
But I remember getting a gob on me a little bit later, and I in fact, no, because I swear I've talked about this in a future post. Maybe. I don't know. I'll try. We'll talk about it now, and then when we get to it again, you'll need to try and remind me that we've already talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember when I was in year 8 at school, it was always in, oh no, it's later on in this post. No, shut up. Sorry, literally just came back to me there. I'm sure we need to talk about this later. Anyway, So I tried talking to Mother Dearest about these horrible girls, and there were a couple of lads in there as well, you know. But as it was still at the stage of like name calling, I was sternly told to sort of ignore them. You know, we were a very sort of stiff upper lip family.
Yeah.
You know, we're not friends with our emotions and none of this hippie happy clappy crap. And a few months went by, and I remember it was a really, really sunny day. It might have been the start of summer holidays or something. And I was playing outside with a friend on the estate, and there was like a big green in the middle of all the new build houses.
Yeah.
Like there is opposite from this house, but a little bit prettier because it wasn't a council estate. Right. And it was all like littered with daisies because of the time of year. So my friend and I were sat cross-legged across from each other and seeing who could make the longest daisy chain, you know, as you do. Nice innocent childhood activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they were the days.
They were the days, yeah. And then she arrived, along with her scabby harem of knobheads.
Yeah.
Okay? With a super soaker. I mean, you might think, okay, whatever. You know, that's fine. So she took aim, and they were all sniggering behind her and drenched us both. And they legged it immediately, sort of cackling as they ran away. And I kind of sat there thinking, never mind, it'll dry in a bit. It's only water. And then the smell hit me. It wasn't water. One of the little, and I'm going to swear, I apologise, but I mean, the situation really calls for it. One of the little shits had relieved themselves into the super soaker. I assume one of the lads, because, you know.
Yeah, they can aim better.
Yeah, we can't aim.
Sort of.
No, yeah, I can't aim. Anyway, so my nice afternoon had resulted in being soaked from head to toe in pee. Smashing. And, you know, obviously I was a bit upset. Well, I say a bit upset. I was mortified. So embarrassed and upset by this. And I ran home, sort of blubbering away and trying to explain to my mother what had happened, who literally just dumped me into the shower and said, "You stink," while she went and made a big drama about it. You know? There was no tender loving care. I mean, my first priority
No comfort, no consoling.
No, nothing. Like, I think if this happened to my daughter, who's a similar age to now than I was then, you know, if that had happened to her, I would make sure that she was emotionally sound, and then I would go and find the little buggers that did it and skin them alive. You know? I mean, so anyway, yeah, there was no comfort. She made a big song and dance about her poor daughter's experience, announced it to all the neighbours in front of me, which, you know, I would have been quite happy to shove this in a little box and never talk about it again. You know, but she made sure it was as public as possible, which wasn't helpful. I'm surprised she wasn't literally on the rooftop telling everybody about it with a bloody megaphone or something.
Did that make the aggravation from them worse?
No, it was just the fact that everybody knew. You know, you have things about yourself that you're just
Oh, I get that.
mortally
Just
embarrassed
wondered
about.
if the bullies
Oh, I mean,
escalated.
no, they didn't. I think they got a good dressing down from their parents themselves. But she did. She called the school and ranted at them for a good hour about the whole thing. And then that resulted in me receiving a public apology from Shelley, the ringleader. And I was like, and she had to say exactly what she'd done as well, in front of everybody. I was like, this is great. my shame is now, yeah. What's the upside?
The fact that you felt great that she had to admit it in front of everybody.
I mean, no, I didn't, because it happened to me and it was mortifying. I didn't want anybody else to know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but she had to admit that she got somebody else to pee into.
True, but I wasn't exactly popular, let's be honest. But
fair one.
So
me and you had very different upbringings.
No, I think that a lot of them were very, mildly satisfied about that. I don't know. Anyway, so Mother Dearest, she was quite satisfied that she'd gotten an apology for me, and retreated into her box, preening to herself about her success. And genuinely, this event taught me to handle these things on my own and quietly in future, to avoid being exposed to further public humiliation.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did in future. Now the next bit. I don't like this bit. So my half-sister passed away when I was about 11. She had her own challenges, which led to substance abuse, which caused her to lose her life. So she was my dad's daughter from his first marriage. So whilst I was 11, she must have been about 30-ish. And despite only having one parent in common, we looked like twins. I will have to find my box of photos in the loft because...
Yeah, because I've never seen a photo.
Yeah, we are literally identical. It's really weird. Yeah, dad's genes run strong.
Well, the genes usually do.
I know it does, yeah. So the fact that we looked alike was a fact that my Mother Dearest would later weaponise. So on the day that the news was broken to me, I'd been at a singing lesson. So yes, I looked the way I looked, and I also sang opera and played the clarinet in an orchestra.
Poster girl.
Like, oh yeah, you couldn't make prime bullying material even if you tried. Like, seriously, just yeah.
With a bowl haircut.
Yeah, it was great. So I remember her collecting.
That's right. I would have still been nice to you.
Good, thanks.
Because I was nice to everybody.
Well, I went through a phase.
That didn't piss me off.
Yeah. I remember going through a phase when I was about 13 of picking on, maybe the 3 people that were lower in the food chain than I was, just to make myself feel better.
Lower?
Oh, yeah, secondary school there was. Only about 3 people, right? But then I soon, one of those, bless her, she's like my longest friend. We've known each other since we were 11.
Yeah.
And we're still really good friends now. And, she forgave me for being an ass to her for a year, because I just, yeah.
You were testing the waters.
I was trying to make myself feel better and soon learned that was not the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so mum collect me from my opera teacher's singing lesson person's house. What? From my teacher's house. There we go. Right, we'll just simplify it. Anyway, now it was where we lived at the time. My teacher's house was like on the opposite side of the valley to where we lived. And there was a road that followed all the way around the top of the valley, and my mum called it the mountain road, even though there wasn't a mountain to be seen. I don't know. Anyway, but it was very picturesque. There were like gorse bushes and that sort of stuff on either side, which in the summer would all be like covered in yellow flowers. And it was really pretty. So we were going home along this road when my mother pulled over in a lay-by, and she turned to me, and she had this thing where whenever she would talk to me about something serious, it was like she'd rehearsed it. And like she needed a PowerPoint and a laser pointer to go along with it. Do you know what I mean?
Point A.
It was like so insincere the way she talked to me about serious stuff. Like it just gave me the heebie-jeebies. And I remember it for this particular discussion, me thinking, wow. So she did. She pasted this solemn expression on her face and announced that my sister had died. I didn't get any further details out of her.
When? How?
No, nothing. I pried a couple of extra things out of her later on, but I must have been about 20 before I actually found out the full details from my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'd finally upped the courage to speak to him about it. Because my mother always told me that it was a taboo subject with him, he'd find it too upsetting and all that sort of stuff. Anyway.
Which could be believable, being
yeah.
his eldest.
Yeah, but also why wouldn't he want to talk to me about it? Being family.
Yes, that's true.
Tricky. Anyway. So I know there were many tears, but most of my memories at that time are shrouded in this dense fog. But I do get a couple of those memories seeping through with startling clarity. So one of those memories of this time was I remember being forced into school the following day. And the following day I had PE. Okay, now I was not an athletic child, funnily enough. Still not particularly athletic, unless I'm doing it as one of my hyperfixations and then I take it too far and injure myself.
Yeah. No, I could...
I'm not like my daughter who spends all of her time upside down.
I wasn't fussy about PE. I really didn't like getting changed though.
No.
It was a pain in the arse, and the change rooms always stunk.
Yeah, they do, like feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was where most of my negative interactions with other students happened, because the teachers weren't in the changing rooms under the guise of privacy, which created the perfect location for my verbal assassinations or worse to occur. So knowing what I'd be walking into, along with my grief, I swerved into my PE teacher's office and burst into tears. and managed to mumble some form of explanation as to why I wasn't in a good way. And thankfully she packed me off to reception to phone Mum to collect me. But
probably wondering why you've even come into school after suffering.
Yeah, but she wouldn't collect me. She was working and wouldn't inconvenience that for my sake. So the ladies at reception took pity on me and let me sit with them and fed me biscuits until the bus arrived to take us home.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was sat there experiencing near strangers exhibit more empathy than my own parent. I started to get angry, funnily enough. I mean, at what stages are there in grief? I'm sure anger's one of them.
It is.
Well, there you go.
I think denial's one of them.
I don't really think I had that.
Yeah.
No, I skipped that. Went straight to unending rage. So questions began nagging at me. You know, when did this happen? And when's the funeral? And why haven't I been given more information? And once I arrived home, I sat and waited for Mother to get back. And my frustration morphed into a rather unpleasant beast while I was waiting. And I think she was shocked at the level of venom.
Did you pace?
No, when I'm angry, I sit there very still, which is unusual. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Unnaturally still.
Yes. And I think she was a bit shocked by the level of venom that I managed to summon, because I was demanding to know more. And I refused to retreat into this meek shell that she'd moulded me into over the years. I think this was the beginning of our downfall, really. So I was like, no, you're an ass. I want answers. But unfortunately, being 11, I didn't see the potential manipulation I was opening myself up to, which was Mother saw an opportunity to forge a weapon against my father, who by then they were separated, maybe divorced, and he'd moved in and they must have been divorced because he'd gotten remarried.
Yeah.
Much to her annoyance. So she took my rage and twisted it, announcing that I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral, apparently because my dad had said it wouldn't be fair to my sister's mother because we looked so alike. An accusation that I'd learned years later when exchanging letters with my sister's mother was an outright lie.
Wow.
My sister's mother wanted me there.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's evil.
Yeah.
Very evil.
Spawn of bloody Satan, that woman. She also took this opportunity to reveal some poor decision-making from my father, historically. And I'm fairly sure that the events that she disclosed, he would have preferred that his only remaining daughter had stayed ignorant of these. So
you don't want your children knowing all the ins and outs.
No, there are skeletons that should stay firmly in the closet. Thank you very much. Yeah,
especially from your children.
Yeah, quite right.
Maybe share them with a partner.
Yeah,
or a friend.
Maybe
that's it.
Yeah, you maybe share some of your more questionable decision making when they're teenagers, and you're trying to sort of like demonstrate how they should not conduct themselves.
I don't know. It backfired with me with my son.
Oh yeah, true. It's tricky.
It's just thought, well, Mum went through it, and look at her now. It's fine. Let's just try this again.
That's not the lesson you were trying to impart.
No, it wasn't. No.
Whoops. So I remember a few days later, still battling all these feelings that kept sort of popping out of the box, like, hi.
Just imagine a little meerkat.
Yeah, boom.
Full of emotions. Like,
hello. Which one are we going to pick today? I was having a bit of a conniption about going to school, and Mother wouldn't budge. She was being an arse. Again, no empathy, just, barbed comments as she strode out of the door. Slammed the door behind her to go to work, just had no interest in dealing with...
And you didn't think to just go, yeah, okay, I'll go to school, but really stay at home?
No, because I was too afraid of being caught out. Seriously.
Again, very different.
No, because the consequences to me lying would have been gigantic. No. Yeah.
When mine found out, it was gigantic, but it took a while.
Yeah. No, I'm rubbish at lying. I would have been found out immediately. I'm rubbish at telling fibs. I can't do it.
There was, yeah.
Like, genuinely,
they had to literally send a letter home with all of the dates. It's quite a long list.
Yeah, you showed me that, yeah.
I did. That's one of them.
When I had my little slip up when I was married to my husband, it wasn't even 12 hours later that I got found out, okay?
You're not very good.
No, I'm not very good.
But you are good. You're not very good at being bad.
No. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm a good person somehow, somewhere. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, so that tangled mess of emotions that I'd been trying to keep locked up came surging out from the box. And I aimed a solid, frustration-laden kick at the glass-panelled inner door, which my mum had just stormed out of, which, of course, my foot went clean through. And you know when you're so angry and then you do something, you go, oh no. Oh no, what have I done? Jesus Christ. It's like when I tried to punch my husband. It's the same thing. It's like, oh! But the aftermath of this was obviously more panic because I knew that the consequences from Mother Dearest would be apoplectic.
Yes.
Okay. So I called her at work, a blubbering mess, explaining what I'd done, you know, saying I'm so sorry and all that sort of stuff.
What?
What?
I would have tried to fix it.
Oh, no.
And make it look like it was always like
no,
that.
No, she would have known I bodged it.
No. So even if it was bodged, I would have said that somebody else had done it.
No, I couldn't go over that.
Or
you had siblings.
something else.
You could blame someone else.
Oh, I never thought of blaming the siblings.
No, there was just no.
That was a silly mistake. I always did.
Yeah.
But no, I always bland. What?
Blamed and blamed.
I would have figured out some clever way of crawling my way out of it, which my stepdad would have seen through because, you know, don't blag a black artist.
Quite right.
But yeah, I would have tried.
No, I just knew there was no point in even trying.
No.
Yeah. And she was one of them. It was like, you ever watched that film Sleeping with the Enemy?
Yes. Where
all the towels and stuff have to be equal and all the tins have to be a certain way. And it's like, you could not move anything in that house without her being like, why is that not where it's supposed to live? Oh. Yeah. Terrifying.
She was one of those?
Oh, she was one of those. Yeah. It was like living in a show home. And when I say living, I mean you literally you couldn't move without her having to hoover up behind you and stuff, you know? That's why my mum and dad were always arguing about housework and stuff, because she was just overly anal about the house looking perfect. Which you know is not possible when you have children.
It's really not.
No.
I wish. My husband really wishes.
Yes. Yeah. Right, we're talking too much, okay? We've still got another section, it's 22 minutes. So being a vaguely functioning adult now, and a mother myself, I can understand why we shelter our children from the harsher truths of our past. And I'm fairly sure we all have events lurking in the darkest realms of our history that we'd prefer not to disclose to our spawn. But Mother Dearest would not adhere to this unspoken rule of civility. She wanted an ally to wage a campaign of torment against this man who had wronged her so much in her eyes. And
he's a good man.
In my grief and rage, I'm ashamed to say that I let her. For a good
you were
5
young.
years.
You hadn't learnt yet.
No. True, and now who's had the last laugh?
Exactly.
I need some squash. Sorry, I've got a frog lurking in my throat. Bear with. So, the next part of this is the war. So, Father Dearest had remarried, and Mother's whisperings about her had sunk their claws in. And so I decided that I did not like my stepmother. I don't think she was a particularly nice woman, regardless, but, you know.
You didn't know that at the time?
No, I didn't. And she, with this woman, she really didn't bloody help herself. Constantly pitting her own kids that were not my father's against me. Now, keep in mind that my father had lost his other daughter. I was his only remaining child. It's like, just, you know, give up on a lost cause, woman. You know? So, I didn't really give it a chance, but she was also a bit of an ass. So, as I grew up, Mother Dearest was...
At least you didn't waste your efforts.
Yeah, no, I kind of haven't anymore, regardless.
Yeah.
So as I grew up, anything that I needed extra, Mother Dearest was always like, we'll see if we can squeeze that out of your dad. Now keep in mind, he religiously paid maintenance to my mother at the tune of £500 a month.
That is
Back then, that is a bloody fortune, especially only for one child.
I still think it is now.
Yeah. For one child, I get less than that. Well, not less than that, but I don't get £1,000 a month for 2. You know? Which, if that is the amount per kid, is what it would be.
Yes, but it depends on how much you earn. That's how they work it out.
Well, my ex-husband earns more than my dad did at the time. These days.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No.
Yeah. So, in addition to that, there were, you know, new clarinets. And me being my mother's daughter in ways, I had to have the fancy smanchy clarinet.
Well, you're still like that now.
I am, yeah. I couldn't have the plastic one. No, I wanted the wooden one, which is like £1,000. Holidays, clothing, computers, laptops, PlayStations, all the expensive stuff.
You don't even play PlayStation.
I did at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, I had the OG, the original one.
Yeah.
Played Spyro and Crash Bandicoot.
I love Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah,
Spyro.
exactly. This was all demanded by mother to my father under the guise that he somehow owed us. Owed us for what? I don't really know. And the entitlement of it in hindsight gives me rage. There were times she would talk me out of going to see him or drop a little tidbit before I went to ensure that I was as prickly as possible. And she'd succeeded in twisting my anger and grief against him. And over the next 6 years or so, my father and I had quite a strained relationship. I'm not sure if he realised it at the time, but there was a battle raging in my head of the man that I knew versus the man I was told about. And one that didn't end until we finally discussed the things I'd been told about my sister, backed up by the letters I'd exchanged with her mother. When I realised that everything she told me about that had been an absolute crock of rubbish. Yeah. But coupled with knowing that was an absolute crock of rubbish, that then made me question everything she told me.
Yeah.
About everything. And I did, the amount of fibs I've uncovered is unreal. So my parents, they shouldn't have married in the first place, despite the comedy value that it brought. If you
chickens,
yeah, what was it? Demented cousins of Big Bird.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did the best he could in a rotten situation. He's never ever let me sink, either mentally or financially. Now, considering he's from that day and age where mental health wasn't a thing.
Yeah, he doesn't fully understand it,
but
he always
tries.
asks you.
Yeah, and
he brings up that amazing word that I love so much. How's your fettle?
How's your fettle? Yeah, yeah.
It's brilliant.
But he reads articles and stuff, even if he thinks it's a load of nonsense.
He really tries.
He tries. And that's all you can ask.
Yeah.
Really. And I remember on one occasion, I'd really lost my temper with Mother Dearest. It was becoming more frequent the older that I'd got, and the more I was questioning her, the more and more we argued. And we'd argued probably about something stupid.
She felt that control slipping away.
Yeah. So we'd argued about something stupid, probably about the washing up, and it got nasty. So I walked away because I knew if she carried... It's my go-to. I knew if she carried on pushing my buttons, I was going to lose the plot as well.
Yeah.
And then it would just descend into chaos. And I would end up getting hurt. So it just wasn't worth it. But Mother Dearest followed me, prowling after me upstairs, like a toddler on crack with all my buttons in front of her, just going mad for it. And I went to shut myself in my room, but she charged through. She was determined to have the final word. And at that point, I grabbed the first thing within arm's reach, which was an empty plastic bottle, and lobbed it at her head. Okay? Now it made contact.
You aimed right.
I aimed and it did, and it was like a vampire exposed to the first rays of the sun. She fled, screeching about what a horrible creature I was. Can you imagine? Legging it out the door. And about 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from my dad, who was scolding me for throwing a glass bottle at my mother. That's what she told him, that I'd thrown a glass bottle at her.
Wow.
To gain the sympathy vote. Now, I explained to him, as calmly as I could, because I was raging, that it was an empty plastic water bottle. Hardly caused any damage to her either, much to my annoyance. And Dad, at that point, he just laughed and said, well done. Because he'd been on the receiving end of her temper far too often when they were together. And he knew exactly what she was like. He
wasn't in the position to be able to do that, so he's probably thinking, yes, at least someone
did. Exactly. So I set myself free of my mother's manipulations when I was 17. Briefly, I know I had to go back. But yeah, I mean, that's because I set myself free and then thought, it's a really good idea to do loads of drugs.
Well,
Yeah. So I finally started seeing events from the outside and validated that quiet voice in my head that was whispering for so many years that everything I was being told was wrong. And, my father isn't a bad man. He's not perfect. He does his best.
Nobody is perfect, but...
Yeah, he's a good egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good egg. So, yeah, this was difficult to write and discuss. It's a period of my life I don't really discuss in any great detail. And I usually inject humour to mask more of my sinister feelings. So actually telling the facts, it's kind of difficult to cover that.
I know what you mean. A counsellor once told me that I was entertaining because I say all the traumatic stuff with a flair.
Yes, yeah. But it makes it less painful to talk about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's it for episode 20. Yeah. And to give you an idea about how difficult I find to talk about this sort of stuff, I am now sweating buckets. I'm not moving, I'm just sat here, I'm just very, very sweaty because it's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweaty Betty.
We'll have a 5-minute break.
We will before we do the next one. Yeah. Yeah. So stay sane. I'm less sane than I was before we started, but never mind.
It's alright, we'll put it back in.
The next one's funny, so it's good.
That's how we're going to put it
we
back
have
in.
that to look forward to. So yeah, stay sane, enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.